Critical and creative thinking, skills and techniques. So, what we're going to take a look at now is two mindsets in relation to thinking, which is that of critical and creative thinking. And we're going to firstly start off with critical thinking, which is required whenever there is a task or problem that needs a solution. Now, we're always thinking with these tasks, and of course, we're always going to have to go through some sort of thought process in order to develop a solution. So, what makes critical thinking different is they're used to gain a full understanding of what the actual issue is associated with the task that needs to be developed. And then the critical aspect related to the thinking method is you're selecting the best possible solution to satisfy the needs that are related to that task, thus being critical because you're likely going to think of lots of solutions, you're going to do lots of research, and then what you come out with the end is the result of the critical thinking process. Now, there are a variety of skills and techniques related to critical thinking. And as already mentioned, there's research and analysis. You've got to look at multiple sources of information and be critical about them themselves. What correlates with each other in relation to research and what contradicts. And then you build your thought process on that. Through that, you're comparing and contrasting information. What resonates and what is applicable to a situation and what is not applicable. Okay, and usually those things that are applicable and do resonate, you'd keep on going forward. The third mention is that of communication. You are in discussion, you're talking to peers, you're talking to clients, you're talking to experts. Communication is key in critical thinking. We are not the experts of the world and know everything. We need to have dialogue with different groups of individuals if we are going to cater a solution that is specific and the best possible solution to a specific need. Part of that communication process is questioning. People often underestimate the value of questioning. The fact that when you ask a question, you're learning, you're gaining knowledge, you're expanding what you know, and not just learning more, but learning more in a greater depth because you can ask more and more questions, seeking greater depth in what you're trying to understand in order to solve a problem, which obviously brings us to the next point of problem solving. Going through a systematic process to solve a problem. Now, there are a variety of different problem solving techniques out there, one of them being the traditional waterfall method, in that you have to fully understand an issue before you begin planning its solution. Then you start developing that your solution, and then you evaluate that solution. Okay, and that is one example of a technique where each step flows into another, but there are many other types as well. As said with that final step of that method, though, the next level is you critique and justify, as this is the critical thinking mentality. Okay, you do critique, you look at it. Is this the most effective technique? You have your solution now, then you pick it apart and try to make it even better. And what are the justifications for your decision? And hopefully, it is based on your research, based on your communication, and the data you've acquired from that. Then the final step that could be used is that of feedback and evaluation, okay, where you fully evaluate what you've got as your solution now. You get feedback from those other parties mentioned before, the clients, the peers, the experts, and once again, you modify the solution in order to critique and perfect the solution you have on hand. So they are the steps associated with critical thinking. Now we'll go on to our other half, which is that of creative thinking, okay, which is required when an innovative solution is required in order to satisfy a need. And by innovative, we mean it's going to be something different. We're not just going to put out the same type of thing. Now, in many cases, what works would be an appropriate solution because it's worked in the past, it can work in the present. Okay, but with creative thinking, we're thinking of new and unique ideas, and we base them on new information, new technology, new ways of doing things that can hopefully provide us with a unique and new experience for potentially a certain market that we're trying to develop for, or a more efficient way of doing things because of these new aspects. Okay, so the key is new ideas and hopefully to be able to do things in unique ways. Okay, because things are always evolving and the traditional method may not have had this opportunity in the past, and thus we are always trying to grow and expand how we go about these tasks. So in the context of creative thinking, once again, we have a variety of skills and techniques. We've got mind and concept maps where we have a central idea and then we branch up subcategories of those ideas and elements and map them out with lines, and we can create obviously a traditional mind map where ideas go into their sub projects, and from the sub projects, they have their own elements as well. But then we can also branch between them and create more of a web too to fully understand all the concepts associated with the main idea. One of the best ways to start a new project is with that of brainstorming. Okay, I know when I like to start a project, I get my pen, I get my paper, and obviously I'm pretty modern, so I'm using my iPad with my iPencil, and I just start writing down ideas and brainstorming. What are things I could discuss? How am I going to approach this situation? What are ways I can approach it? Because we can't always remember things in our head, and so documenting all our ideas straight onto a reference paper that I can come back to later and then see what my ideas were is a great help, and obviously why brainstorming is used so much. Another strategy is that of prototyping, where we develop a model of a potential system. And that model, in the context of creative thinking, could start out as a very traditional approach to solving the problem, but then we can start tweaking it with new designs, new information, new knowledge, new technology, and hopefully turn that traditional type of system into something unique and make it a new way of doing a task. Along with brainstorming, another traditional method of recording ideas is that of sketching, drawing how things are going to look, annotating those drawings, labeling what do things do, what are associated words, how would this process work, what does my drawing actually look like, okay, coloring it in and making it look appealing. That can help get your ideas across to other parties who may be involved with the project development or are going to be an investor or a sponsor or a peer that are going to work with you on that, which then brings us to that next point once again that you saw in the critical thinking column, that of communication. We are not working alone. The best ideas come out of teams with like minded goals, all working together, multiple knowledge sources. And once again, the clients, the peers, the experts, all being involved in this process in order to develop that new type of system, key being communication. In this unit as well, we've spoken a lot about questioning, but in particular, that questioning mindset, how we use questions to delve in and find out more and more information. And in the context of creative thinking, learning about how things worked in the past, but also finding the new way of solving the problem. And then that leads us to our final point, which relates specifically to creative thinking, having creativity and open mindedness, because you're probably going to go with an unorthodox new idea if you're going to create a creative project. You're doing something new. There is an element of risk involved. It could fail miserably if it's based on new technology that is unproven. Okay, but then also there's a wider market if it is successful because people might like the new way of doing things, especially if it gives them new opportunities, new experiences, or makes things more efficient for them to do. But it does require creativity and having an open mind to think out of the box in order to do things in new ways. So I hope this video has given you an understanding of the difference between critical and creative thinking. Essentially, though, in order to create projects, we need to have both these mentalities. We need to obviously be critical in order to determine what are the best ways of doing things and go through that thought process, consistently evaluating the ideas we have and then refining them and perfecting them through communication and questioning and feedback from those other parties. And then the creative side, how we think outside the box with our projects in order to create something unique. Once again, communication and the ability to share ideas through the different diagrammic methods, brainstorming, sketching, writing things down, and then communication once again and getting that feedback, and then using that creativity and open mindedness to create an innovative project. So I hope that's given you that understanding of the importance of using both these thinking methods when creating projects.